You had a unique case where you were appointed special prosecutor by the Honorable Frederick Marshall, Supreme Court Justice, to prosecute Robert
Earl Sawyer,
multiple murder in 1988. How did that all come to be?
Well, it started out, Sawyer, I'll give you a few minutes background so
Sure,
you understand what that Sawyer murder was before I got involved. Robert Earl Sawyer was a killer. Just to give you an idea, well, we'll work up to it. He was a born killer. I hate to say that. He was, I think, in prison from about the time he was 12 years old on. And he came here to Chautauqua County after he got out of jail, and he robbed Hogan's Hut, which most people know. And there was a young girl in there named Jeannie Hum. And Jeannie was a security guard at Chautauqua Institution. And he came to rob Hogan's Hut. And unfortunately for Jeannie Hum, he recognized her because he laid carpet. He was a carpet layer. He laid carpet in her parents' house, and she was living there at the time. And he also remembered her, I'm sure, that she had a police uniform on when he saw her at Chautauqua Institution when he laid carpeting in there. So he knew he had to kill her. And so he had her lie down in an aisle at Hogan's Hut. It was 30, I can tell you, it's 33 inches wide. And bothers me to this day. And he shot her twice in the back of the head with a .41 Magnum, which is a, very powerful gun. It was awful. And John Arnowine and John Siriano, who was the undersheriff at the time, were assigned to investigate the case. And a Volkswagen was seen near the murder site, and they knew every career criminal or every badass that was in Chautauqua County by virtue of the fact that they were sheriffs, and they had that information. They all knew who was who. So they suspected maybe that was who it was. And so anyway, they undertook an investigation. And Sawyer was had gotten married and was living out in Sherman on the Marks Road. And the lady he worked for or married was a real nice person, and she had no idea. And she worked for the county, and she had a house with a barn, and she was a horsewoman. And Sawyer, during this period of time that she was living with him, she didn't know anything about him. And when he was laying carpeting, he and this other guy would case the house when they laid the carpeting. And they apparently put in carpeting at a teacher's house, an older man, and they found some photographs or something, and so they started blackmailing him, and they got his credit card. And they went up to they went to Erie and bought used the credit card and bought a pair of cowboy boots. His friend who was with him, see, he was always smart. He brought his friends in with part of the crime so that they wouldn't talk. And this guy got these cowboy boots and left the box in Sawyer's car. This was the story. And Sawyer, when he went down and robbed and murdered Jeannie Hum, he took that box and he put his handgun in there, and he had taking those, you scratch them off for money, the state lottery tickets, and he got all of the lottery tickets after he shot her, took those and the money in the cash register, And he scratched every one of them off. And he had a pile of them, I guess, from there. And he put them in that box with a gun and some ammunition and stuck it and cut a hole in the wall in the upstairs of the barn. And he put the stuff in there, the gun he killed her with, and nailed it shut with square, old-fashioned square nails. And Ernewine, and they couldn't figure out where he got the .41 revolver. And the story, it ends up, that's part of the trial, how all of a sudden that appeared. But so they were following, they had a pretty, they were getting closer and closer. And they found out from a guy that he worked with that he had Sawyer had asked this guy to buy 41 shells because he couldn't buy them, he was a felon. And they got him at M&M's, the guy did, and gave him to Sawyer, and they went out and shot through there was a big ravine, and they shot across at a target in a tree. And just why, I don't know, but they did. And God bless Ernewine Siriano. They went there, they got the guy who was a cohort that was with them at the time and showed where the tree was, and they climbed down and climbed up into the tree and dug out the bullets. They found some. And then they had Jeannie Hum's bullets that passed through her, and then they had these bullets and they could make a match on the pistol. They arrest him. Sawyer is brought back to here. He'd been convicted. He'd now been arrested in Maine for murdering his partner up there. And Sawyer, being a carpet layer, his famous MO was to roll a person up in a rug, anyone he killed. The weapon of choice was a hammer. And he took this guy out and needed help burying him up in Maine. And he got another ex-con up there that he knew, and he came out and helped him bury this guy. And then this fella got nervous because he saw Sawyer's car parked in the neighborhood, and he was afraid he was going to kill him. So he went to the police and told them what happened. So they got Sawyer on that one, and just to show you how cold he was, when they dug down to exhume this body, there was McDonald's on the guy's chest and French fries, and Sawyer had been eating his hamburger and French fries while they were burying him. And they convicted him up in Maine, but they brought him back here because this was such a heinous crime. They wanted him pinned down for life. And so they brought him here. The case was tried in front of Leetown Adams. Sawyer said he didn't want the public defender's office, but he wanted a lawyer, but he didn't have money. And Leetown Adams said, if you don't want the public defender's office, you're going to have to try it yourself. You don't have any money. But I want you do have that right. Well, that went to trial and he was convicted. And John Ward prosecuted that as district attorney, and they got him convicted, and he went up, and the appellate division reversed it and said he's absolutely has a right to counsel, and you should have at the very least had a public defender sit with him and advise him if he had any questions. And the failure to do that, they threw the case out and brought it back here to retry it. So now they had a conflict of interest because I think Ed Fagan was involved in it, and he wanted Ed Fagan, but and I don't know if Ed was a public defender there or not. It's blurry for me, but so they had a conflict of interest somewhere in there, and so they had to appoint a special prosecutor. Well, I got nominated. I got the sheriff's department apparently asked that I prosecute him based on a case I had with the sheriff's department previously, the famous Purpura case. So I said, okay, I don't have any choice. They appoint you. You're an officer of the court. So I went up and I prepared the case, and we tried it in Buffalo. They got to change the venue to Buffalo, and I went up and tried it. And while he was in Buffalo incarcerated, somehow Sawyer got himself out on the roof of the sheriff's department or the jail up in Erie County. He went up a vent or something. I don't know how the hell that happened. They got him again. They got him before he escaped. And then the word was out that he had a girlfriend who was going to try to break him out. I mean, it's bizarre. So I'm prosecuted to go in there and try this case. Now the case has been tried before, and now Kevin Lawmer is defending him as a public defender, and they have the whole lawsuit. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, I can't try it the way they tried it because they're going to know every question, they're going to be prepared for everything I do. So I switched everything around as best I could. So it was, I put different witnesses on first, and I tried to make it like a new trial so that they were off balance. I could get the conviction. And so we tried it up there, and it was lasted about 8 or 10 days. I don't know. Freddie Marshall was really a tough judge, and he made you start at 8:30 in the morning, and you didn't stop. And if you had to raise your hand if you wanted to go to John, yeah. And he said, "We're going to get this thing tried, and it's going to be done in 2 weeks. I got a very busy schedule, and we're going to go and do it." And so we were there till 6 o'clock at night. Rob Liebers had just started with me and had been with our office 3 months out of law school, and I had him up there with me to keep. There were about 180 exhibits. We had a thing you pushed down to they kept it up in the DA's office under lock and key, and then the exhibits were brought down, and I mean, we had a pile of them. Right in the middle of the trial, we get a call. Of course, it's being reported, you know, the Post Journal, everybody's following it. And every time you step out, the TV was there. And down in Warren, we got a call from some guy that says, "I think I know whose pistol that is. I know that pistol." What? So Ernewine calls me, and I said, "Jerry, I don't want to meet this guy, but you meet him and show him the pistol." And Ernewine took the pistol over, and sure enough, the guy said, "I can identify that. Absolutely, it was mine." And he said, "I lost it about the time I had carpeting laid here." And this is out of the blue. This is 5 days in trial. So I had to approach a judge. I said, "I think we got some new evidence here." And Marshall said, "What is it?" And I told him, and he said, "Oh, that's very relevant." He said, yeah. So, and sure enough, who was the guy that laid the carpeting? Robert Earl Sawyer. Signed it, you know, and he was the guy that did it. And so I had to have a lady from Sears come in, said he worked for us. Yes, he did it. And so now we got him, I thought we had him tied up pretty tight. And the conviction came in, and he was convicted. And there couldn't have been a worse person.
This had to be exhausting.
Oh, it was.
I mean, I don't know how you get done with that emotion, the time, the energy that you have, and then try to, what'd you do afterwards? I mean, how does one wind down after something like that?
Well, I lost 25 pounds. Well, you do. I can remember when it was over, you know, the newspaper people there and the television people. I got out of there and I came home, and I said to Judy, "Let's go to a movie." That's what we did. Yeah, we went to a movie.